Fabiano Caruana said after round 7 of the candidates, he is rooting for anybody who plays against Javokhir Sindarov. Well, today Sindarov made quite a quiet and comfortable draw against Andrey Esipenko. So can Fabiano Caruana catch up? Sindarov was not stopped, he was not delayed, he was held back a little bit, he didn't win. So Fabi needs to win games to catch him. But someone else who will be wanting to win games in the second half of the calendar is Hikaru Nakamura. He is yet to win. And, of course, if Fabi fails to win, Sindarov's lead stays as it is. And if Fabi loses, will anybody catch Javokhir Sindarov? There were 3 decisive games also in the women's section. We'll cover those in just a moment, but we have to start with what is the most important game of the day in the open section. Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana. Hikaru opens with the English. We get a symmetrical from Fabi. This is probably the least aggressive way you can respond to this. I mean, Fabi could have chosen knight to f6, he could have chosen e5, but c5 is obviously what he's prepared. We get knight to c3, knight to f3 and knight to c6, and d4 very quick from Hikaru. We get takes, knight to f6, and now knight to c3, a variation of the 4 knights English. Fabi goes for e6, we get a bishop to f4, and now d5. Very simple stuff. Played it before. We get takes, knight takes, which is very interesting. So some tactics flying here. This bishop is hanging, but your queen is hanging. So what we then get is pawn takes, which now, secures that, but does leave c6 a bit weak. And we move the bishop back to d2. Interesting to go back to d2. Now your queen's blocked, but perhaps you're going to play queen b3 or queen a4. You could have probably gone back to g3, but there's probably something Hikaru doesn't like, or there's probably a reason you don't go back. We get bishop to b4, so perhaps it's just to get out of the pin. Now queen to a4 and a5. Fabi spends 20 minutes on a5, on move 10. Is that pawn not hanging? e4 from Hikaru. Obviously, there's something you don't do here. There's a reason you don't take this pawn. It looks like a free pawn to me, but there's obviously some tactical complications, which I'm not good enough to understand. Anyway, knight takes c3, pawn takes c3, kicks the bishop out, and now we play bishop e2. Still this pawn free to get, but I imagine, bishop d7, and the rook coming back, it's not good. Short castles, and now you've got a problem because this bishop is undefended if you play short castles. So what does Hikaru do? He plays bishop to f4, so that bishop went out, came back, and went out again. Grandmaster chess, ladies and gentlemen. Bishop to a6, now offering a trade. Hikaru takes, and now rook d1. Queen to b6, short castles, queen b5. Queen c2. Hikaru is up almost an hour on time. From a few games ago where he was completely unprepared, he's detonating some serious prep here. Absolutely incredible. Almost an hour up against Fabiano Caruana, one of the best prepared players in the world. Bishop to c5. Hikaru only now, on move 19, spends some time and he plays the move c4. And unlike the previous time when he went for a long think against Sindarov, this is a good move, c4. The queen gets kicked back to b7, and both sides have these two weaknesses. Both of these are weak. You could argue maybe this e4 pawn is a bit weak for Hikaru as well. But you've got to defend these, and that's quite difficult. We've got same kind of bishop, so there's not that much imbalance, and the pawn structure is the same. So how does either of these players win? We get bishop to e5, queen e7, queen d3, f6. Now bishop d6. Takes. It's a rook endgame. Hikaru up, 40 odd minutes on the clock. Fabi down to 30. How are you going to win this? Is this going to be like game one where it's a long game, a long end game, and one of these players messes up in one of the positions? Rook to b8. Hikaru just takes a pawn. Fabi gets his rook down to the second rank, where the rook's the most powerful, but so does Hikaru. Fabi doubles up, but Hikaru hunting pawns. Takes. h3. h5. Fabiano Caruana is losing. He's completely losing. The best move, and this is not easy to find, is rook a b2 to go backwards. Because the idea is when rook takes a5, you play rook b7. You secure your second rank, and then if e5 takes, now you can go after c2. Rook e8 check, your king comes out, you're completely fine. Rook e4 and g6. It doesn't think h5 is necessary, and even though there's like rook a1, it thinks this position is holdable. h5 is just unnecessary. You've created another weakness on this rank, and you have to like cover it up. So, rook d1, okay, great. Rook bb2, check. You go out, okay. You could take this. This comes with check, and it protects g2. Fabi does take it, but this comes with check. King goes over, check, 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 and I go back. And now what do? Rook comes up, I pick up a pawn. Takes. Hikaru's up 2 pawns. 2 pawns. The only thing Fabi has in his favor is this pawn, and his rook is the wrong side of it. He plays rook c2, rook c5. Remember you played h5 a long time ago? It's just a fork. And Fabiano Caruana is going down. He's down 2 pawns. This pawn is actually doing a great job at the moment, now that it's got h4 trying to keep the king in. But there's nothing you can do. It goes all the way there, it wins the pawn. You're still down 2 pawns. And Fabi's going to defend this with all his might. You can't trade rooks, it's a losing king and pawn endgame. You need to keep your rook on the board. And Hikaru and Fabi, they will play this forever. This is forever winning for Hikaru Nakamura. Ladies and gentlemen, forever. And e5, the final move of the game. Hikaru Nakamura gets his first win of the candidates. And Sindarov's lead just got even bigger. The only other decisive result came in the game between Anish Giri and Praggnanandhaa. If Anish Giri wins this, he joins Fabiano Caruana in second place on 4.5, an even score. That shows you how dominant Sindarov has been. It was a wild game, which was like a Queen's Gambit accepted, which eventually kind of petered out a bit. The engine always liked Giri here for some time. It always liked position, particularly after this sequence with rook to e1, bishop b7, bishop g5, takes, h6. It really likes what Giri does here with taking on c5, and then it thinks you get a really nice advantage if you play like b4 or knight to f3. We get one of those moves. Sorry, what's going on? Don't freeze again. Surely not. Surely not again, right? Yeah, okay. Knight to f3 is what was played. Let me fix the window. Knight to f3 is what was played. Now we get knight to c6, knight cd4, and the advantage just growing ever so slightly for Anish here. He plays a very nice game, and the big problem for black is white has this weakness, which you can absolutely target with everything. But the bishop doesn't really have targets, because this important pawn is on a dark square. This is a weakness, so when you get this, I get that, and this is weak. Thing is, like, that pawn can be defended if you try hard enough. And the knight's really well placed. It's like unchallenged by this bishop. This is the example of a knight dominating a bishop. Time and situation has been equal. So b3. Now bishop d7, h3. Yes, I'm putting pawns on light squares, and I decline the rook trade. This is a game you're going to have to play and play out. We get f4, and rook to e1, and rook to e8, and rook to e2, and f takes, and now queen to c4, and this is a great move, because not only does it get everything moving here, it puts pressure here, and the advantage is very small for Anish Giri, and look at that a4, trading off all my weaknesses. Takes. Prague will never lose this game. King h1, steps out the pin. Queen f7. What about e6? What are you going to do now? Queen g4. Rook f2. Rook c4. Rook f4. h5. The best move is king h7, getting out of the way, because queen f2 comes. Bishop c2, e7. You are in problems. Bishop e4, great job, because it disconnects. Check. Now king h7. Takes. I sacrifice the rook. Because you can take. Check. And there are two problems. You go here and then you lose your rook. Or you allow promotion. Or you go here and I sack the queen. Well, I don't know if I can sack the queen here. And the winning move is queen f8. Takes, I make a new queen. And then I pick up the rook, at some point. Mate in 6. And Anish Giri wins. And he joins Fabiano Caruana in second place on 4.5. We go to the women's section. The most important game is Anna Muzychuk. She leads. And now she's looking to get past Divya Deshmukh. We have a hyper-accelerated dragon in the Sicilian defense. And we get this with d4. So it almost turns into something resembling a King's Indian, except it doesn't. d6, bishop e2 takes, and now bishop g7. So you have the idea with the fiat bishop, white is committed to c4 and to d4, a Marozzi bind, and they can still strengthen it even more on the light squares. And now they've got a really good dark squared bishop, but this light squared bishop might kind of try and help out. But it's an interesting structure. So we get bishop e3, short castles. Gets out of the way of this. You might say, hey, why didn't you go for any discoveries? Because the queen could always get out of the way. The knight couldn't wreak havoc. Now it can. Knight g4. I just take it. Give up the two bishops and play short castles. And white is never worse here. White's never worse. Bishop e6 now. Bishop to d4. Offering the trade. We get the trade. The queen once again in the middle of the board. And white is comfortably better. And Muzychuk was better for a considerable portion of this game. But what is white's plan? Like, it's +1. It's +1. How do you win? How do you win? Queen e5, h3, b6, knight d5, bishop takes, pawn takes. Look at that. We're making progress. Queen f6. Look at this. Rook f3. I'm making so much progress. It's +1.3. How do you win? h4, f6. Completely winning. How do you win? Queen d4. Rook b8. Rook ef3. Look at that. Rook bb7. Look at this. We're infiltrating. We're getting in. We're pushing the pawn. We're going to create weaknesses. Look at this. Completely winning. How? You can't win this. And you can't really infiltrate because it's not even like I've committed. So how do you win? How do you win? Black can make all the inaccuracies. How do you win? Now we're opening up the king. Look at this. We're like threatening mate. We finally threatening something. The queen comes in. Queen f8. C takes b4 is a mistake. For the life of me, I don't understand why you don't give this check. I assume it's because the king hides in the corner. But I don't get it. And probably because trading all of this does not get you anywhere. Like, trading into this endgame probably nets you a loss for black. Probably nets you a loss because you're down a pawn. Probably nets you a loss. Or a draw, it's holdable. Like, you have to understand, you have to do this the right way. So, we get all these exchanges in queen f8. You've got to be careful. So, c takes e5, takes. And now look at this, a5. This is how we're going to win. We're going to push the pawn. Surely this is how white wins. Rook c5. Divya is doing her best, but this position is untenable. Check. King slides over b4. I take the queen. I just drop back. Trade. Gotta be careful how you trade. Queen e2 is not the best move, but it's fine. Queen takes h6. The advantage is gone. The advantage is completely gone. Takes. Check. You block. And now I go here. We trade. It's a queen endgame, and black has perpetual at the very best. There's nothing white can do here. You lose a couple of pawns. You've got no hope of really promoting the pawn. So there's going to be a perpetual a7. Why did you play a7? You just hung the pawn. Okay, you get that, but I go back. It's winning for black. Divya Deshmukh is winning because you don't have perpetual. And now I'm in. And I'm hunting you down, and I'm up a pawn. A queen trade is winning for black, and I just have to get it right. I'm defending all my stuff, and I'm trading. Check, check, and I bring the king. And now you've just got to not blunder one of those checks where I block and I get it right. And yeah, Divya doesn't blunder, and she blunders queen f5, and Divya wins. Divya Deshmukh, who takes down the leader, Anna Muzychuk. There was a draw between Vaishali and Bibisara. Vaishali was better for a bit of the game, but not quite able to. Then we go to the match between Goryachka and Katerina Lagno. This was a really interesting Scotch game. You don't see it very often. A quick trade of the knights, and I thought it was headed for a draw. But these games are always interesting because you've got to play chess. Like, it's not cutting-edge opening theory. You've got to play chess. And there's pins going on, but very early f5 is a huge mistake. And Katerina Lagno was just completely winning for a large portion of this, but we know in the ladies section in particular, and even in the whole candidates, it's never been that simple. But ladies and gentlemen, she made it look very, very simple. Did Katerina Lagno 1 or 2 inaccuracies, but she's pushing through a pawn. You know, she takes the queen, and we trade the queens, and she just has a completely dominant position. Why? No, but the king is weak. The diagonals are weak, and there's several black weaknesses that you can pick off, and this is not a huge problem, and you've tied your shoes together. So we get like bishop d5, king slides over, but now my pawn is secure, we trade off the rooks, and Katerina Lagno just wins. Like, we get everything solid. She went up a pawn, she went up 2 pawns, and you just can't trade anything as black. And eventually we trade everything. We get down to 2 minor pieces. And even the knight versus bishop might be a draw if you trade the bishops the wrong way. Or if you end up in opposite colored bishops, it might go wrong. But when you trade down into this, bishop versus knight, and I'm up 2 pawns, and all 3 of my pawns are passes, and I'm blockading this, black has to work very, very hard. And Goryachka is forced to resign after h4. It was a beautiful game from Katerina Lagno. Absolutely beautiful. It took her time to convert it. But, I mean, she was winning from move, 19? Move 15, f5. The huge blunder occurred on move 15. And for the next 50 moves, because this game ended on move 66, she just pressed and pressed and pressed Goryachka until she got a position that was completely, utterly winning. This game is something I always love to play. Like, I know I didn't play this game, but games like this I find are some of the most enjoyable chess games to play, because you know you're winning the whole time. It's just about actually winning the game. You're always worried you're going to blunder it, so you've got to calculate properly. But it's a beautiful game to play, because you can pick up pawns, and then you can trade, and you just win. You knew you were winning, and it's really beautiful. And then the final game of the video is Zuzhina. Obviously, she was very impressive at the start. She's playing Tanjani. Tanjani, who was my favorite for the tournament. When Nimsa Indian defense, you know, this has been, the tried and true weapon for people with the black pieces. And so, you just continue to play quite a bit of opening theories. Played Tanjani under huge time pressure early on. It was very fascinating. So you've just got to see, Tanjani knew what she was doing. She busted out a lot of opening theory, only really thinking on the last couple of moves here, on move like 17. Yeah, a little bit before that. So she spent, a couple minutes here, and then here queen b3, and now knight here. And, she's got a pleasant position. Black is more than equalized. And in fact, after this inaccuracy, Zuzhina's better. If you play knight hf4, which is what's played in the game, Zuzhina's better. Like, Tanjani didn't spend a lot of time. She seemed to know what she was doing, but she's completely lost. Bishop f1. Queen g5. Bishop e3. Bishop takes b5 is a slight mistake, because queen takes. And we trade off the queens, and there goes a lot of your advantage. Because you were threatening things here. Remember, you were causing a lot of chaos and dynamics. By trading off the most powerful piece, you're not going to have that. And now we've traded off rooks. And, it's not as winning. Like, black is up a pawn. But how do you win it? Is the question. How do you win this? Because now all the advantage is gone. It's back to a level game. And white's got 2 bishops, so they can operate on both sides of the board, on both pillar complexes. So can white. 2 bishops versus 2 knights. Who's going to win this particular game? Are we going to trade bishop for knight? Well, Zhujia's winning again. Look at that. The last few moves. Her knights dancing around the board. Look at them here. Not doing too much. Now I target one of them. Look at that. E5. Okay, you play a side action at bishop a6. Look at this. My knight comes in. Target your bishop. Threatens a check. You come back. I give a check. You come in. I give a check. I win a pawn with check. And now I get out this way. Knights are really tricky pieces. When you have the horses and they're going, now I can kick. Also, look at this move, just by the way. You can't take this because it's a fork. The constant threat of the horses just infiltrating. So bishop all the way back to f1. I kick out your rook and now push f4, and we're just winning. Zhujian is completely winning. Is she going to make this time? She trades one of the knights off for one of the bishops. And look at this, by the way. Tanjani doesn't take this pawn. Knight takes h5. And now where does your rook go? You can go back. Let's say. King f5. I'm marching these 2 pawns down. My rook here, I haven't used it. When was the last time that rook moved? When was the last time the rook moved for black? I'm looking back. Knight move, king move. The last time I see it move was on move 41. We're up to move 60. So almost 20 moves. I haven't touched the rook. So look at that. Knight f6. Okay. Now move 60, rook d8 check. I give a check, king e2. I come in with to d4. You give me a check. I just slide over to d6. Oh, now you pin my knight. Okay. Not care. e4. My knight's fine. Oh, you're going to undermine the defense of my knight. Check. Oh, that's cute. Check. 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 And now I take. Sacrifice the knight. Because you can take. I come here. You can't do anything to me. I pick this up. And rook f5 is a mistake, but it's meaningless at this point. Check. I offer it. Look at this, by the way. Look at this move. Sacrificing the rook. Well, kind of. I mean, trading the rook. To get this endgame. 3 pawns versus the bishop. So rook f5 was a mistake. King e3, we go all the way here. Offer the rook trade, you decline it. But I'm in. I push the pawns, and I block with rook e2. A beautiful game from Zhujian. And now she's put herself back in contention. In fact, if I pull up the standings here. Let me pull them up on my phone so I don't ruin the screen. We know Fabiano Caruana is in second place with Anish Giri. It is still led, the open section, by Javokhir Sindarov. His lead has just grown after Fabiano Caruana lost to Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru picking up his first victory. So the FIDE candidates, the open section as it stands, is Sindarov on 6.5, 4.5 for Caruana and Giri, Prague, Hikaru, Blue Bomb, and Wei all on 3.5, and Esipenko right at the bottom on 2.5. In terms of the FIDE women's candidates, the standings currently lead Divya Deshmukh, Anna Muzychuk, Katerina Lagno, Vaishali Rameshbabu, Zhujian, 5 players. It is a 5-way tie at the top, ladies and gentlemen. After today's 3 results, 5 players tied at the top on 4.5 points. Then Goryachika and Asubayeva Bibi on 3.5, so a point behind the other players. And Tanjani right at the bottom on 2.5 points, ladies and gentlemen. Those are your standings for the FIDE candidates. It was a scintillating round 8. And I will see you tomorrow for round 9. Thank you so much for watching. Any comments, welcome below.